You're looking at the center of your own eyes. And in so doing, you tap into the essence of your presence. The essence, think of those words, those are powerful words. The essence of your presence, that's your soul. The essence that gets you right on track, gets you right into who you really are, what you're really doing, what you're here to do, what you're here in your spiritual term for. The essence of your presence is your soul, doing the work that it came to do. The service in service with love. In service with love. That's what you're here for. We're in service with love. That's the reason we're alive. And the idea is to understand that you can actually create miracles through your soul self, through your higher self.
Hello, You listener, my dear soul brother, soul sister, wherever you are located in this world. I just want you to know it means the world to me to be on your path of higher consciousness and greater heart connection and love and this journey of being your You. It is such an honor, such a pleasure. And I'm so excited because today's guest, Dr. Mark Mincolla, he is incredible energy healer, medical intuitive. He is the author of 5 books. He's working on his next book. He did write the book, The Way of Miracles. We talked about this a few years ago. He also has The Way of Miracles in a film. It's a documentary that you can find on Gaia TV or Amazon. I highly, highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. And I just want to share before we dive into the conversation, this conversation is for you if you would really love to learn how to get out of your own way and create the space to be a part of the miracle process of miracles. If you are looking to really get what your deepest purpose is and so much more, this conversation went very deep. My intention is, as always, that it blesses you and that it helps you to really access that greater love and compassion for yourself. And of course, knowing that as we focus that on ourselves, we're able to create that more in the world. I think you are going to be incredibly inspired, empowered, moved, and just really spiritually touched after listening to my interview with Dr. Mincolla. So please listen with your heart, sit back, put on your seatbelt, and I am so excited for you to be here for this unbelievably powerful conversation. Lots of love. All right, You listener, you are in for such a treat. I'm so excited to have Dr. Mark Mincolla back on the You podcast. I've had the pleasure and just been so grateful to work with you, Dr. Mincolla, myself, and I am so excited for this conversation. We're going to go into the world of miracles and more. So put on your seatbelt. This is going to be a very deep, enriching, empowering, and miraculous conversation. And we just thank you for being part of this family, this community. So honored to have you here. So grateful to have you back, Dr. Mincolla. And let's get started.
Sounds great.
So I think for those who didn't get to hear your first interview or don't know as much about your work, maybe we could talk a little bit about how you even got into the incredible work that you do, how you've gotten into helping thousands of people to experience miracles on a daily basis. I'm going to give you a moment just to share so we can bring people up to speed if they don't know your work yet.
I think the important thing is that we have 4 different options with miracles. Miracles can be rejected, miracles can be accepted, miracles can be expected, and miracles can be created. We have 4 options. Only 3 of those are positive, and only one of them is creative and takes into account the creative force that we possess. We are creators. We are creators. And to create our blessings is something that we have the hierarchy within ourselves to do. So I say it begins with that, with identifying with the identity crisis that we experience, the identity crisis. In the first chapter of the Way of Miracles, my book, The Way of Miracles, the first chapter is an exercise that I actually invoke. Have the reader look in the nearest mirror, eyeball to eyeball. You're looking in the center of your eyes. You're looking at the center of your own eyes. And in so doing, you tap into the essence of your presence. The essence, think of those words, those are powerful words. The essence of your presence, that's your soul. The essence that gets you right on track, gets you right into who you really are, what you really do, what you're here to do, what you're here in your spiritual term for. So the essence of your presence is your soul doing the work that it came to do. The service in service with love. In service with love. That's what you're here for. We're in service with love. That's the reason we're alive. And the idea is to understand that you can actually create miracles through your soul self, through your higher self. So I think that we have an ego self. I describe the ego self as a wounded child. It's confused. It's at a loss. It never has an equilibrium. It's always wanting. It's always wanting for something that it doesn't have. And then the soul is everything. Is everything. It's everything. So you can either occupy your soul, a sense in the spirit of abundance, limitlessness, and, and endless possibilities. You can actually just reflect your wounded child and just tap into the fact that exhibit the fact that you're not whole. You know, your soul is whole. Your ego is not. But I think that we all, by the same token, we need that ego. That's important. Ego is important. Ego sounds like something we want to dust off the into the sunset. The ego is an equally important part of your reality because the ego is what takes us through the process of hunger into the satiety, soulfulness. That's a really important part of that equation. And I started 35 years ago. I just knew that like everybody else, I experienced the same pain, confusion, and suffering that everybody else on the planet has experienced. And I just felt like if there's anything I could do in my life with taking some of this burden off people's shoulders, taking some of this burden off people's soulful shoulders, that we could, and I could actually really feel like, and I'm doing what I came to do. I felt thinking about what I was here for when I was like 12 years old, 12, 13 years old. So I started very early. And I tell the story about how my brother lived in Massachusetts. I lived in upstate New York, in Binghamton, New York, as a kid. My mother used to drive up to see the babies. My brother and sister-in-law's babies. They were cute little kiddos. So she used to love driving up back and forth and just watching the kids and watching them grow and develop and play an important part in their life. And we're driving up to Massachusetts. And I was looking out the window, 12 years old. I'm looking out the window of the car. The car's going 60 miles an hour. Everything is zooming by. I couldn't help but understand that as everything was zooming by, I went into trance. I went into a trance state at age 12. And I saw myself moving to Massachusetts, being a doctor. I saw my whole life map out in front of me at age 12. I told my mother while we were driving in the car. Didn't know what to think of it, you know. Didn't know quite what to think of it. It was an early awakening for me. Very, very early awakening. And it just became something that I developed slowly, gradually, never stopped. Still developing, still evolving with it. Service of love. That's all there is. That's all there is. The rest is just filler.
I love so much of what you just said, all of what you just said. I have some questions for you, Dr. McCullough, and I think just to pause for a moment, a lot of the questions we talk about here with what does that mean to really to be your You-est you, right? To bring in your higher self, your soul self, which is what you were saying. And I think when people get caught up in what's my purpose and to hear it just bottom line, the way you said it, we're here to be in service of love. Like that is our primary purpose. That is it. It shows up differently for everyone. That's it. And I know that is what you embody. Um, I want to go back to the miracles, the beginning when you talked about there are four options and the identity crisis that we're having. I think I just sense that this is really going to touch a lot of hearts. and a lot of nerves in the best way. You know, this identity crisis of not realizing how powerful we are and not realizing, like you said, you know, that it can be, you can have that space of being, you can accept it, you can reject it, you can expect it, you can create a miracle. I would love to talk to you for a moment about what kind of identity do we need to have? What do we need to shed? How do we need to see ourselves to be able to step into that realm of creating miracles and expecting miracles? Um, where do we begin for someone listening who's like, I would like to be able to do that? What would you say to that person?
We need to get out of the way. I think the most important thing we can think of is that we have an affinity for more, bigger, better, more, bigger, better, more, bigger, better, more, bigger, better, more. I think we need to subtract. I think it's addition through subtraction. I think when we get to the point where we just become tuned into ourselves to the extent that we can actually get out of our own way, let ourselves just evolve and flow. Flow is the title of my next book. I'm working on that right now. It's called Absolute Flow. Absolute Flow. Absolute flow is the way of, of way of things. I say there's a absolute flow is the way of the way. That's how I refer. That's how I. It's the way of the way. There's not a lot we can do. We don't love ourselves. I say the beginning of the process of our being in service with love self. We can't love. You can't love. You can't love an egos are not love. Egos are not love. They're hard to love an ego. It's hard to forgive an ego, much less love it. But we can love our soul. Soul is a perfected self. Soul is a beautiful self. Soul is a giving self. Soul is a loving self. Soul is a divine self. So it's easy to love that. It's easy to love divine. It's easy to love soul. So to tap into the fact that and emphasize the fact repeatedly that we are soul, our soul, and remind yourself every day in some form of meditation or visualization that you are soul every day. And then I think the key is when you do that, you can start genuinely loving soul. You can genuinely love anything. That love. You can love the fact that separation is an illusion. That's very lovable. Very lovable. Separation is an illusion. I am you. You are me. And it's easy to love you that way. It's easy to feel the inspiration coming from the ping pong of soulful love. We send the vibrations back and forth. We send those frequencies to each other and remind ourselves that there is no such thing as separation is an illusion. It's beautiful.
I know you've worked with many patients and clients that have had all different kinds of what would be considered, you know, quote unquote, incurable diseases, illnesses, issues, um, and the whole range. And I'm curious, someone who's listening, maybe, hopefully that's not they're not struggling. Hopefully you're not struggling with something like that. Or maybe it's just struggling with feeling lack of connection to their soul self, um, to the possibility of being an infinite soul, of not being separated, that's an illusion. But for somebody listening who's like, I meditate, I'm trying, what would you say to that person who is feeling like I've tried all these things? What do I do now? Because I know you've worked with so many people and have had so many miracles, daily occurrences of all kinds.
And by the way, if people haven't seen the film, there's a documentary film called The Way of Miracles, same as the book, same title. The book and the film have the same title, The Way of Miracles. So you can check out the film streaming on Gaia, Gaia, Gaia. It's also available on Amazon and Gaia. Those are the two sources. You can check out the movie. The movie's great. The movie has 7 different stories of miracle healings. They're incredible stories. They're incredible stories. But that grounds the conversation. And so many people can talk about miracles, but if you don't have miracles, then there's no tether there. Uh, the tether, my tether comes from this movie, and this movie comes from the tether of my life. It's an important part of it. But I think that to your point, creating a miracle is, by and large, the result of you're having negotiated a relationship with yourself. And to have awareness, your awareness is the key.
What I'm really hearing, Dr. Mincolla, is what it comes down to, which I have to say in my own personal life, I've experienced the miraculous healing of exactly what you're saying, that it's a better relationship with ourself and easier often to go to our soul self, not our ego self, the wounded child ego self, but the soul self, the infinite aspect of each of us, which I love the reminder, I am you, you are me. This to me is one of the answers when we find ourselves, shaming or judging others, right? It's like, do you see yourself in others? I think of the phrase namaste, the light and I honors the light in you. I see myself in you and I see you in me. And so important about this awareness and relationship with self. I know you also mentioned, I don't want to gloss over it, the importance of doing that. I believe you call it soul gazing, where you look in the mirror. I know that was one of the things we talked about, like not just staring at yourself and having and saying a nice affirmation, but like eyeball to the mirror, really honing in. I know you've said that from that practice, you've seen miracles come out of that shift in relationship with yourself.
I just think that the term turns me on so much is the essence of your presence. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not what's more subtle than essence. Essence is superfluous. By nature, it's the most energetic, subtle power in the universe. That's so subtle. So yeah, it's powers in its subtlety. The essence, the presence, and presence. Think about what presence is. I mean, presence has many different modalities. You could be asleep at night in your apartment or your home, and you're the only one supposed to be there. And as you're dozing off in the rocking chair, you hear something in the next room. There's a presence in that room. Or I have visitations by angels in the middle of the night. Sleep. The presence. Presence is it's such a powerful, subtle word. The essence of your presence. It's the most subtle byword phrase I can ever think of. The essence of your presence is so subtle, so powerful.
Can you say more? I just got a little like, ooh, tell us more about, I think, I don't know that everyone listening, I don't know, we all get to have visitations by angels, or maybe we're not aware. What does that look like? What does that feel like for you? How do you experience those
Well,
encounters? That
I
process?
am. I when I started thinking about formulating the new book, I was asleep, and I had an angel come into my room in formless essence, just the spirit. And I had a conversation is like telepathic conversation. And the angel said, or to take the words absolute flow. You need to take those words and turn them into a mantra. We've already given them the power. The universe has already given the power to those words. Now you're to give you're to train that, you're to give those powers to the world, over to the world, educate the world, and spread the world about it. But the key is the essence of your presence is part of what I was learning in live form that night. That dream. It wasn't a dream, it was really a time where I actually had the presence of an angel meeting with me and teaching me what I was about to do. And I was told that the book was going to have a title. You didn't have to read the book; you could just keep reading the title.
For those who would, it's so beautiful, first of all. And I want to talk about the next book momentarily. I also want to say, anyone who has not watched The Way of Miracles, the film, I saw it when it premiered. We spoke, I think, soon after it. It was absolutely, as I like to say, mind glowing. It glows your mind, your heart. It is so powerful. Um, I sometimes hear questions from people that I can imagine they're asking, and what I'm sensing is going back to the experiencing the angelic presence, the presence of the divine. How can those of us, those who maybe have not had the trance experience you had when you were 12 or do the kind of work you do you have any experience or insight around how do we call forth the essence of presence, not just in ourselves, but also of the higher realms, of the angelic, of the light beings? How do we do that? How do we connect in as well?
I think the key is you want to expand your love. In love, there's a lot of things love isn't that the world seems to indicate is. And I think for starters, we have to identify real love. Secondly, we need to expand it. There's limitless expansion properties, expansive properties. There's no limit to the expansive properties of love. So just by going into your heart, expanding the properties of love, as the divine knows it, take the properties of infinite expansion and an expansion. The expansiveness that love is leaves you with nothing but options. You can just trip in and out of portals, trip in and out of portals with a beautiful ride. You just take a beautiful ride. And the ride you take will be in dimensions where all the angels live. You don't have to call the angels to you, you can go to them. And there's no limit to what you can actually do in those environments. So the objective is to open up your heart, expand your heart presence, and so doing you develop a higher frequency so that you can actually access portals to where angels are in abundance. Call it heaven. You want to have some amazing meetings with some beautiful spirits and some beautiful angels. Go to heaven.
I can feel as you're speaking, this feels, first of all, I can't help myself. If anyone's watching this, I'm smiling because it just feels not only true, but I can feel the energy in my heart expand. And I actually am just going to pause to anyone who's watching and listening to just to tune in what Dr. Mincolla just said, to really feel into what he just said. I believe we all know this at the deepest level, our heart, that I love what you said. I don't know that I've heard it this way. This kind of compounding, expansive quality. There's no limit to how much we can love. And to reach these beautiful, the angelic realm, the heavenly realms, it comes through expansion in our heart, through love. That's what I'm hearing. Really, I'm hearing and feeling you. I don't know if I've experienced it exactly the way you're speaking of it. I know for me, just I really resonate. I've had that feeling, and it's connected, I believe. I want to look at how this is connected to absolute flow. The writings, the beautiful teachings in your next book, how our heart loving more. I'm going to let you talk about it because I know you have a lot to say.
No, talk a lot about in the new book. There's only 52 pages presently. Got long way to go. Long way to go. Life is perpetuated by flow, which is energized by the power of purpose, meaningfulness. The deeper the meaningfulness, higher the frequency, the greater the flow power. The flow is the way of the way, as I like to say. Flow is the way of the way. I'm a Taoist by nature. I believe that there's a way of things. And there's a lot of ways things aren't. There's only one way everything is. And the way of the way is what this book's about.
Mm.
I said from hope to expectancy to channeling the power of creation. I'll say that again. From hope to expectancy, channeling the power of creation. From hope to expectancy, channeling the power of creation. Absolute flow is a reflection of the super consciousness that we are. We are super conscious. We don't have it. We are that. We are that. We don't have that. Flow reveals the way of the way of things. And again, flow reveals the way of things. It's forever advancing to exactly where it belongs because it naturally goes everywhere it invites itself to be. I'll read that again. Flow reveals the way of things. It's forever advancing to exactly where it belongs because it naturally goes everywhere it invites itself to be.
In what you're saying, there's such a energy of ease and surrender and trust and allowing. Even the energy when you said from hope to expectancy, hope, the energy of that versus expectancy when we're expecting, it's so interesting, the vibration behind what you're talking about. I can feel, I'm curious if this is resonating with what you've seen and experienced and what you mean as well, that there's an aspect of shifting the way that we're being. I think we live in a very overly, how would I say it? I mean, there's masculine, feminine energies, but in a society, in a world of doing and hyperachieving and hustling, I have found it to be over, out of balance, and has been something I've been really in tune to. And what you're talking about is a whole different energy than that completely. Um, for many, and I'm thinking for those listening all over the world who have become trained, right, programmed to be in this hyper hustle culture, this to me, even listening to the words, right, the flow is the way of the way, that's a very different energy than that hyper striving, need to meet those goals, need to, it's pushing, making things happen versus allowing. That's what I'm hearing. I'm curious for those that are like, I want to be able to shift gears, change frequencies, to be in this flow. It's hard sometimes. Where do we begin? Where do we start for those, especially that are caught up in all the different roles, parenting, they have a business, career, work? Where do we find those crevices, those places, those ways to add more of this beautiful flow?
Big difference between wanting to have something versus becoming everything. And I think that we need to give consideration to the fact we possess the capability of being everything. Separation is an illusion, like we said. So separation is an illusion, and everything is one. If everything is oneness, then you already have what you want. You just got to find it. You only find it within your heart.
Hmm. I could literally hear you just talk all day if we I know for me, I just have to say this is what's going through my head is I'm going to be listening to this conversation over and over again on repeat. Um, my friends listening, isn't this just like so healing? Isn't it so helpful? I love what you just said. It is such a good reminder. We already are that. We already are, and it's found in the heart. So many, and I have to say, getting the degree, the certification, going to after school, finding the right job, making sure you're making enough money to take your kids through, college or trips or what. There's all of these external, they can feel like pressures, and I would even add, aspects that can kind of like add dirt to the windshield wiper. It just can totally cloud the way that we're seeing our life. And what I'm hearing is clean off the windshield and see through your heart. See through your heart.
You see it perfectly.
Now I got to practice it. We got to practice it.
We're all work in progress.
Yeah, we are. I love that reminder. What is something I would love to know, Dr. Mincolla, when you have a client or a patient, maybe with a really challenging health issue, and they're having a hard time? I would imagine as the practitioner I've experienced with you, I mean, I have to say, just being in your presence was so uplifting and healing. Um, I'll share my experience. I mean, I don't think you mind. I am healing my not just my thyroid, but the antibodies around it. I was told by Western medicine that's impossible. You can't change the TPOs. That's what it is. I ended up lovingly leaving. Not that I know Western medicine has its place, but I said, I don't believe in my heart that's true. And found a naturopath and then you, and it worked together. You're all on my team. And one of the things you said was, you said, it's already here. It's already here, that healed normal number, which is something I've been working on for a while. It's already here. And I mentioned something about emotions, and I remember you saying the emotions you're having, the love you're giving to yourself is more important than you realize. And I thought maybe for a moment we could talk about, how do emotions play a part in healing?
First of all, as we all know, everything is energy. Everything, everything. Energy is a great medium for healing. It's a great medium for any kind of transposition. So I think that emotions come from the heart, and the heart creates a language for itself because we often don't listen to our own heart. Our heart has to get our attention through its language. The language has a lot of power. The language of the heart is the emotional power. And we're always listening because it gets our attention through the potential for pain and magnificence and love. So if we have a language that's calling to us uh, regarding love, regarding pain, those are two very powerful dynamics. They're going to get our attention. That's what the heart does. The heart gets the attention of the mind. You know, one of the things I did the other day, I did a seminar, a three-day workshop down in North Carolina at the Art of Living, beautiful place. I did Art of Living, did one class on Friday night, did two classes on Saturday, and one class on Sunday. Four presentations. And at one point, I asked everybody in the room. I said, "Everybody, point to yourself." Everybody went like this. No, nobody's doing this. Everybody's doing this. So what does that tell you? That tells you everything you need to know.
For those listening, Dr. Mincolla pointed to his heart, not his head, and then said, there you go. That's, everyone pointed to their heart instinctively, intuitively.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that's, I love this, and I don't know that I've heard it said this way, that our heart creates this language. And what came through to me is, and I've done a lot of looking at symptoms and what's happening in our body. So for example, I'll just share, because I have this experience. Thyroid for me, I remember when I had this, I don't love to use the word diagnosis, but I'll just say, with the realization there were some issues with my thyroid, right away my intuition said, that is your throat chakra. You did not speak up. You weren't listening to your voice. You weren't honoring your voice. It's a big lesson. It's partially why we're doing this podcast, while I'm interviewing you, is to use my voice to heal, and use my voice and share other voices. Um, and I just wonder, our heart creating these languages, would you say that our symptoms, that what we're experiencing, that range of whether it's an ailment or an issue or a heartache or belly ache or whatever sensations that we're feeling, would you say, because what came to me is that part of our language that our heart has created for us to pay attention to?
I think the result of those experiences presents the heart language. In other words, you can go get a diagnosis. I hate the word too, but you can go get a diagnosis. Migraine headaches or whatever. And you're still still dealing with that the mechanistic level. Mechanistic. And that's analytical, it's medical, analytical, scientific, mechanistic. But then you have a reaction to the heart level. And the heart says, I'm happy about the result, or I'm unhappy about the result, or I'm frightened about the result, or I'm angry about the result. I think when the heart qualifies the experience with language, you have emotion expressing itself and creating a different frequency. It's kind of like the brain and the mind. The brain and the mind, they work together more often than not. You can have mind like a lot of the heart's language, and I think that a lot of that is to the subconscious, the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind processes 2,000 bits of information per second. The unconscious mind produces 400 billion, 400 billion, 400 billion bits of information per second. 400 billion. There's a lot of deep mindedness that gives the heart language such powerful energy. It's incredibly empowering. That's where that power comes from.
It's helpful, I'm sure, not just for myself, I'm sure for all of us to be reminded of that incredible power you've talked about the super conscious, at the conscious level, at just really getting, even the name, the Way of Miracles. To me, what keeps coming up is we are the way of miracles. Every human being, everyone who's created, everyone who's listening to this, you are the way of a miracle. You are that. You've said this over and over in different ways. I do have a question just to go back for a minute with emotions. And you talked about, maybe you have anger about the results you got, or fear, or concern. I know something that I personally struggled with was I don't want to have fear or concern. I want to stay in a place of optimism and encouragement and hope. And I've really have focused on that. However, something I've learned, I'm curious before I share my experience. I'm curious because what I've seen is that emotion, it's there, right? So how do you help your clients if they have fear or anger to not necessarily push it away, but to honor it and also remember who we are so we can be in that love and heart frequency?
I believe it's a matter of allowing it to bless you. I think we tend to think that we don't think in holistic terms. We think in reductionistic terms. So we think that there's no way that you can do a whole course in the positivity of fear. You can do a whole course in it. You could advance your consciousness so profoundly by taking that vulnerable element and changing you're changing a relationship with it. I think that's what we're here for. We're here to do that. We're here to evolve, to change our relationship with our own emotions, and to know that fear is part of the holism of our life. It wouldn't be there. It's the way of the way. Fear is the way of the way. Anger is the way of the way. Anxiety is the way of the way. They have a purpose. They have a meaning. They're here for a reason. They're reflections of you. They're reflections of timelessness. They're reflections of expansion, infinite expansiveness. So we have opportunities to take on these challenging emotions and to let them bless us with wisdom, with consciousness, with expansive consciousness. They're beautiful.
That is one of the most gorgeous answers I have ever heard in my life. I'm just, I have to say, just talking to you, I feel my energy, my vibration shift. That is I've never heard it said like that. I've heard many different ways of looking at our emotions. That, Dr. McCullough, just intuitively, when you said that, that felt like a big old plumb line yes, to allow it to bless us. That, my friends, I hope you're well, you don't have to take notes because I take notes for you. But seriously, write that down. Write that down. Maybe you're not like me and you've already are at that place where you welcome all the emotions. I'll say for me, it took me and it's taken me a long time to be comfortable sitting with anxiety, with fear, with anger. I really didn't like how I still don't always like how they feel. However, I this is what I've been practicing and you just said it in the most beautiful way to really allow those emotions. First of all, we're whole, that holism, all of them are part of being human and that they are here to bless us. And, when I look at, for me, having this thyroid experience for the last 12 years, some of the most incredible blessings have come into my life, including the work I'm doing, this show, changing my belief about myself. And it's funny, I've thought about it, but it's hitting me now in a different way. And I could see this being a really great activity, especially for anyone listening. If you've had a health challenge or other financial challenge, whatever's been going on in your life, look and see how is it blessing you? How has it blessed you? The fear or the whatever the emotions you've gone through. Because it's occurring to me, I need to do some reflecting and really write out how I've been blessed through this, through my, for example, the journey I've had with thyroid stuff.
Yeah, the other thing about that is we need to stop this incessant process of expecting things to make us feel good. So we immediately create a barrier between ourselves and our fear because fear doesn't make me feel good. And a barrier between anxiety and myself because the anxiety doesn't make me feel good. Anger doesn't make me feel good. These things called emotions are a pain in the neck. They don't make me feel good. I don't like it. So we it's part of our consumer process. We're going to consume only those things that make us feel good. And I think what's really important is to embrace the holism, puristically, purely. But embracing holism just because it's holism is any rationale or reason. I don't want to embrace my holism because I want my anger to make me feel stronger, fear to make me feel more reactive, run faster and jump higher. We don't. We need to stop with the consumer thing. I just want to state that it's important that all we need is to embrace, celebrate the holism, perfection unto itself. So my fear, my anxiety, it's all part of my holistic nature. It's part of all of me. It's all part of me. I just need to embrace the fact that makes me feel whole. You can't do better than to feel whole.
I think that really sums it up. And it's really powerful what you're saying. I sometimes when I do these interviews, it's like I'm having the meta experience of both talking to you, hearing the other beautiful listeners, and then my own reflection. And I can hear in my inner dialogue, oh, Julie, go sit down and really reflect on what you're saying for myself. I'm going to do that. This idea of really gravitating only towards what we want to have us feel good versus, and I love what you said, just the energy of embracing the holism, the whole what does it mean to be as ourselves in human form, right? That holistic aspect. Even what you were saying, the way of the way, that absolute flow, s- really connecting to your heart, letting yourself see through your heart. I just read a book. I it was a book that Wayne Dyer wrote that was talked about the Tao Te Ching, and it's just bringing up a lot of what you're saying. I know that that's your your underpinning, your grounding. It was so powerful, Dr. Mincolla. I went through the 81 verses, and I'm like, this is going to be on repeat. I'm just going to slowly listen again and again and again because I need it to sink in. Our society doesn't really, at least here, I would say in the States, I haven't experienced a very Taoist uh, way of being, but we can change that. And I know that's who you are, that's what you're doing, and that's what we're talking about. But it's powerful to be reminded, oh yeah, hold on, we're holistic beings, and let's remember our purpose is to serve from our heart, to see from our heart. And that the miracle, what I'm hearing is it's already there because it's who we are.
And not only that, I think the word whole is such a powerful reference. When you go to have a beautiful dinner with somebody, you want to enjoy the whole meal. Whole has a beautiful reference to it. Whole is just a beautiful completion process. It's enhancing. It's perfectly, 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 perfectly abundant. Whole is a holistic is abundant, and the idea is that we have a tendency to assign the goodness of abundance to those things that are pleasurable. We don't tend to understand that there's a Tai Chi circle here, half white and half dark. So, and I say if you're not celebrating the Tai Chi circle by embracing the abundance that comes from the pain and suffering of emotion, and you're living in halfism, not holism.
That is a mic drop moment. Yeah. I think of the yin yang, the symbol,
Tai Chi circle.
the Tai Chi circle, same thing. Yeah. I would love to know before we wrap, I just have loved this conversation. It's I hope for you listening, you're still with us. I hope it's helpful for you. This has been extremely healing and powerful for me. I am curious, I refer to them as heart flares. Like there's something that either I didn't ask you or that's on your heart that just would like to share. Maybe something that you feel is a message for our beautiful listeners. Anything to add to what you've already, the wisdom you've already shared?
I'm gonna encourage people to reach down to themselves. Reach down. Stop reaching up. Down. You're already up. You occupy up. You're a soul. You're eternal. You're already up. You don't need to go up anyhow. You're already up where you belong. You're in heaven. You're up. Reach down to the soul, to the ego. Reach down to the broken-hearted child. Reach down to the part of you that's vulnerable and imperfect, and the part of you that's constantly making mistakes and constantly been in error, and that constantly needs forgiveness and understanding and presence in your life. Reach down to yourself. Reach down to yourself. And pull yourself up. Pull yourself up to where your higher self already is. You're already in a perfect placement in the upper realms of heaven. You want to take you want to forgive, bless. You want to love. You want to show care, patience. There's a wounded child in you. It's way down there. Stop leaving that child by themselves. Stop disregarding them. Stop avoiding the love of those parts of yourself. I think those parts of yourself need your love, need your consistency, need your care, need your concern, need your trust, your faith, your forgiveness, all the above. So reach down to yourself.
You are one of the most heart-filled, light-filled, just beautiful souls, Dr. Mincolla. I am so grateful. I know this conversation is going to bless so many human beings. Your work is already blessing millions of human beings and more. Thank you for just for who you're being and the work you're doing. The book that's coming out, the absolute flow, I know is on its way, flowing out of you. Um, Thank you for the reminder of who we are. That's the point. That's the point of this show, honestly. Um, and I just appreciate you so much. This was such a rich conversation. I know this is going to bless everyone.
Thank you for playing such a vital role in the process of consciousness, spreading the word, helping the word get sent out to the world that so desperately needs it. You're doing a beautiful job. Thank you for your effort.
Well, thank you. I'm just standing here with this like feeling of gratitude to be alive in this moment, the essence of presence, as you said. And I just want to also extend our love and gratitude. I'll speak on your behalf if that's okay. I'm going to just share our love and gratitude to To you, our beloved listener, thank you for being here on this journey. I pray you really listen and extract the gems, the nuggets from this beautiful wisdom that Dr. Mincolla shared. And I love that reminder to reach down to that part of you that might be still wounded or needing help or love or care. And this to me, I'm realizing as I say this, this is how we tune in. We live into your you is you, my me is to me, that highest self is we bring in that holism. So thank you for being on this journey. We love you, grateful for you, and we see the light in you. Namaste. My friend, I'm so grateful and honored to be here with you on your journey and being your you is you. Thank you for watching this episode, for being part of this incredible community and this mission to really step into your light, to your highest purpose. I believe that as we all do that, we all can really be our best selves and uplift consciousness and in humanity. So thank you. I also wanted to say that if you are looking for greater support right now, maybe you're having a health concern or you're looking to really step into that next version, best version of yourself, please come connect with me, whether it's for more resources or coaching or guidance. I would love to support you in any way that I can. Just go to juliereisler.com. You can book a powerful one-on-one breakthrough session there. You can connect with me. I would love to meet you. I'd love to hear how I can be on this journey with you. And before I forget, if you'd like a little more of this good vibe tribe and would like to digest these episodes with a high vibe community, just go to Facebook and look up the You-est You podcast community. You'll find us there. Love always. And thank you so much for taking the time and energy to truly stepping into your authenticity and being your You-est You.